The old logging trail, swallowed by the forest canopy, was supposed to be a shortcut. That's what Mark had told us, his voice brimming with the unearned confidence of a teenage boy who spent a summer at a nearby camp. There were 5 of us, fresh out of our final exams, chasing the last dregs of sunlight to a hidden lake we'd heard whispers about. We were invincible, immortal, and utterly stupid. The air grew thick and heavy as we ventured deeper, the familiar scent of pine giving way to something else, something damp and vaguely sour. The trail, once a clear path, began to fray at the edges, dissolving into a confusing maze of deer tracks and fallen logs. Chloe, ever the practical one, was the first to voice her concern. "Are you sure about this, Mark? It's getting dark." Mark just scoffed, pointing a determined finger forward. "Relax, it's just ahead." I can almost smell the water. But the smell wasn't water. It was decay. It clung to the back of our throats. A sickly sweet perfume of rot. That's when Liam, who was usually lost in his own world, stopped dead. "Do you guys see that?" he whispered, his voice trembling. Tucked between the gnarled roots of an ancient oak was a makeshift shelter. Tattered blue tarps were stretched over a frame of broken branches, held down by mossy stones. Piles of discarded, junk-rusted cans, muddy plastic bags. A single grime-covered sneaker formed a pathetic barricade around it. It was a place someone had called home, now long abandoned to the elements. A chill, entirely separate from the evening air, snaked its way down my spine. The place felt wrong, sacred, almost, in its desolation. We should have turned back then. We should have respected the palpable sorrow that saturated the clearing. But we were kids, and curiosity is a cruel master. Jess, bold and reckless, took a step forward. "Hello, anyone there?" Her voice echoed, swallowed by the oppressive silence. She nudged a pile of rags with her foot, and something rolled out. A small wooden bird, crudely carved, its paint faded to a ghost of its former color. Jess picked it up, a triumphant grin on her face. "Souvenir," she declared. "Put it back," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "Jess, seriously, this is someone's home." "It was someone's home," Mark corrected, trying to sound brave. "Come on, let's get out of here. It's creepy." But the damage was done. As Jess slipped the wooden bird into her pocket, a sound drifted from the depths of the forest. It wasn't an animal. It was a low, mournful sob, a sound of such profound grief that it felt like a physical weight pressing down on us. The temperature plummeted, our breath plumed in the air, ghost-white panic erupted. We turned and ran, not back the way we came, but deeper into the woods, our only guide the fading light. Branches whipped at our faces, and roots seemed to grab at our ankles. The sobbing followed us, sometimes seeming to come from right behind, sometimes from all directions at once. It was joined by another sounder wet, dragging noise, like heavy, sodden cloth being pulled across the forest floor. We burst through a thicket of thorns and found ourselves on the edge of a stagnant, murky pond, not the pristine lake we'd been promised. The moon, now high in the sky, cast a sickly silver light on the water's surface, and there, standing at the opposite edge, was a figure. It was a woman. Her hair was a matted, tangled mess, plastered to her skull. She wore layers of what looked like wet burlap sacks, dripping dark, foul-smelling water onto the ground. Her feet were bare, caked in mud, and her face was a mask of utter despair. Her eyes were hollowed-out pits of darkness, and her mouth was a gaping hole from which that soul-shattering sob emerged, though her lips never moved. She wasn't looking at all of us. Her empty gaze was fixed on Jess. Jess screamed, a raw, terrified sound. She fumbled in her pocket, her hands shaking uncontrollably. I'm sorry, she cried, pulling out the small wooden bird and throwing it toward the figure. It landed with a soft plop at the pond's edge. The woman didn't move. The sobbing continued, a constant, heart-wrenching lament. She took one slow, dragging step forward, then another. She wasn't walking on the ground. She was gliding just above it, her movements unnatural and horrifyingly smooth. We scrambled backward, tripping over each other in our haste to escape. Mark was crying openly now, his earlier bravado completely shattered. We ran and ran, fueled by pure adrenaline, the sound of her dragging clothes and her endless weeping chasing us through the night. I don't know how long we ran, but eventually we stumbled out onto a paved road, the headlights of a passing car blinding us. We never talked about what happened. Not really. We tried to rationalize it a prank, a shared hallucination brought on by fear and exhaustion. But we all knew. A week later, Jess's parents reported her missing. They said she'd been acting strangely, talking in her sleep, crying for no reason. She kept saying she needed to give it back, but she couldn't explain what it was. The last time they saw her, she was walking toward the woods at the edge of town, the same woods we had fled from. They searched for weeks. They found nothing. Sometimes late at night, when the wind howls just right, I think I can hear it. A faint, distant sobbing, and I know the woman from the woods is still out there. She was a woman who had lost everything in life, and in death, all she had left was her grief. A grief so powerful it anchored her to that desolate place. She wasn't looking for revenge. She was just looking for the last little thing she had to call her own. And I know with a certainty that chills me to the bone that she finally has it back. Thank you for joining me for this story. If you enjoyed it, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the shadows. Stay safe and always respect the forgotten places of the world. You never know who or what still calls them home.